Today's Fender is really fighting to keep its legacy, to keep what they built originally and really make sure that no one is violating their own trademarks, which seems to be a very different approach than what Leo Fender was doing back in the 1960s, where Leo didn't seem to be fighting to keep what he had built, but he was always pushing to innovate, improve, perfect not only the guitar that he was building, but also the system by which he was producing the guitars and the amplifiers. So there's definitely, the conduit is the name Fender and the look of the instruments and the amplifiers. But what is different is the mentality of the company and the philosophy from the original inception to where we're at today. We're going to be looking at certain things that are given as credit for Leo Fender being the original builder of certain things, but we'll also see that he may not have invented certain things, but he sure has perfected them or made them available for everybody. So I don't think it's all about having the original concept, but being able to take a concept and making it available mass market to everybody, and not just mass market, but being a great, reliable product. So let's start with the first thing. Now, a lot of people focus on originality. So the body shape should be 100% original. The headstock shape should be 100% original. Flat out copying, sure, maybe that's just somewhat wrong in certain circumstances. Maybe if the headstock shape is too much like another company, that could confuse the consumer. But it looks to me like people have made concerted effort to make their headstocks different from the big companies like Gibson and Fender. But even then, if you go and have a look at the original design of the Fender Stratocaster headstock, it looks a lot like the one from the Bigsby guitars. So Bigsby used to make guitars, and I don't know if they still do, but as far as I know, they focus primarily now on the Bigsby bridge. But if you look at the original headstock from the Bigsby and that of the Stratocaster, there's a lot of similarity. It's not a one-to-one reproduction, but it's close enough that you can say, hey, they definitely drew inspiration from that one. We could look at it as Leo Fender trying to be a little more innovative and more practical with the size of the headstock, but perfected it in his own way. Then we have to look at also perhaps like the 6 inline tuners. We can see that the Bigsby also had this. How about solid body? A lot of people credit Leo Fender as being the first guy to make the solid body. We can see that the Bigsby had solid bodies. It's not the same shape. The guitars look completely different, but what I think is different is that Leo Fender made it mass market, made it easier to do and quicker perhaps than what the competition was doing at the time. So that way he could get those solid body guitars out the door, into stores, and into the hands of guitar players. We also see that Leo Fender, often, like if you go on forums or Facebook group, a lot of people say Fender were the first company to invent the electric bass. We have some information that points towards the fact that in the 1930s, there was at least one Paul H. Tutmarc is credited as having been one of the first person to make the electric bass. But Fender popularized it, put it in the hands of more people. So in that sense, if we say, yeah, Fender is the first to mass produce the first electric bass and have it on TV in the hands of studio musicians and live musicians, 100% we can give him the credit. But anyone could take anything that Fender has done, and that's what I'm trying to prove here. Anyone could say Fender didn't invent anything. That's a bit of a stretch, but to say that they purely invented it, no one before them had done these things. I think the real argument is that Fender was looking around what people were doing. They were borrowing ideas, trying to perfect them and make them better and make the best version of that innovation, of that idea, and then putting it in the hands of everybody. If we look at Fender from that point, yes, they were innovators. It wasn't so much they were inventors, but they were innovating the electric guitar in the earliest stages of electric guitar.